Okay, welcome back everyone. I'm going to put it back on on my Wi-Fi. I really feel like my Wi-Fi is going to be able to hold it up. I just need to trust that. Looks like my Wi-Fi is not working. Just let me know who all's back in here if you do not mind. Oh, come on. Okay, Selma, thank you. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you. Okay, just hanging here with me, you guys. All right, good. Wonderful. Everyone's back. Thank you, Mina. Okay, let's try this again. So, with the tones, tone C seems to be triangular, tone B seems to be square. And what I heard is that if you like, I know a lot of people see geometrical shapes a lot of times. I heard if you can use your third eye to like push that out and basically basically like a shield, right? To use it to with intention and purpose, right? You don't want to just project it just because it's a geometrical image, but recognizing the sound that a geometrical shape is representing, because sound actually does, as you guys have seen the way it affects sand, it is creating, if you will, or it's shaping the sand, right? So that's what's happening to the cells. And when they are unlocked, we're able to pull in from the quantum and we're able to embody our most abundant self. However, as you all know, if you hold versions of you that are automatically rejecting abundance, then no matter what you bring in, it's never gonna be enough, right? You're gonna always need more. You're gonna always need more help. You're gonna need more guidance. You're gonna need more healing. You're gonna need more. You're gonna need more. You're gonna need more. Well, they're tones. They're not just that. That was the part I was sorry. That was the part I was speaking into. It's not about music. It's about tone. And there are the musical notes like B and C that exist in the physical range, but these are tones that are beyond the physical range. They are within that range of B and C, but then they also are vibrationally aligned beyond the physical senses, which come into where we're accessing through the quantum. So since we're accessing it through the quantum, our third ear is what's going to be sensing and not our physical ears. So you know, so that's why, so the big thing, like when you're going to express the tone, is you also want to be sure you're not so concerned with how it sounds. You're expressing the sound and the tone is already coming through and you just express it. It's not going to sound like music. It's not meant to. It's meant to simply be an activating tone. Okay. Doesn't mean it can't sound pretty. Doesn't mean it will sound pretty. Just simply expressing that it gets to sound however it sounds. And that way it's not limited to one specification or another. So whenever you're anchoring, whenever the tone is flowing through you, you're probably going to feel called like an intuitive nudge to express. So allow yourself to open your vocal cords and express no matter what it sounds like. So we're going to be focusing on opening the cells and activating them in that way, as well as pulling in from the quantum. And I'm going to guide each and every one of you to really sense and feel that version of you that has it all, that has everything, right? That doesn't lack anything. You're in perfect health. You have all the wealth and the finances that you need. And, you don't need to be a millionaire to have everything that you need. But if you've always felt that you were going to be a millionaire, access that. Everyone's wealth stream is independent and specific to them, not because a millionaire means you're wealthy. It means that that's a template of you that you already exist in. You had already designed to have those lessons and those experiences. So you also want to recognize that your template is designed in the way that it's meant to. You may not be feeling called to access yourself as a millionaire, but just having everything that you need. that's as wealthy as a millionaire. Every dollar should be equal to the next. One should never be greater than another. It's just simply a signature of a template. That's all it is. Um, okay, so I'm going to share with you some of the things that came through because I do feel that they're important, and I am going to be speaking them like this when I bring them through. Um, so the cells are seeking sound to open. This is also how they're going to close. They're going to close and anchor through sound. We're, of course, unveiling the quantum tones of abundance and using the images of numerical geometry to assist in activating. For those of you that comes forward, please use that. I'm going to be calling upon the crystalline grids of source. I feel like it's going to be important, at least right now in this transition, because there is a harvesting happening. It's why you guys, especially those of you that are working with me directly, as you know, we have been focused on approaching things differently, not doing things the same way, understanding why we behave in a certain way so that we no longer operate out of fear, because choices that are made because we're afraid of something anchors us into a very specific set of experiences and timelines. One's not better than another, and I'm not saying that to make anyone question, doubt, or be afraid. It's just vibrationally, that's the way things occur. In the harvest, the vibration to come into the higher states of consciousness, when you're coming into the higher states of consciousness, no choices are made from fear. Fear doesn't actually exist. So therefore, when the harvest is occurring, as it is occurring right now, the harvest occurs vibrationally. So that which can rise rises, that which cannot will not. And so the harvest is calling us all into a higher capacity of compassion, acceptance, and understanding, where we're not afraid of things anymore. We're not doing things out of force and control, where we understand that we are the source and we don't have anything to be afraid of anyways. There's nothing that can harm us. And when we are fully anchored in that understanding, we carry a certain signature. And that signature pulls us into the vibrations of harvest because we're no longer doing things. It's very interesting. I'm going to share this. When we think that we are the only ones that something happens to, like, you can't possibly understand how busy I am. You couldn't understand the way that I feel. I'm this way, I'm feeling this way because something's wrong with me, and you couldn't possibly understand what's happening in me. You don't know what's going on in my body. You don't know what's going on in my life. I'm so busy all the time and I have so many things to do. Or your thoughts are scattered and they're all over the place, and someone cannot possibly understand how stressed you are. That egoic perception, that restricts a person. It places a person in a space of simulation that is very restrictive because that person believes that they are the only ones that know what is happening. Now, that's true. You're the only one that knows what's happening. But that tone, I'm the only one that knows what's going on within me. No one else can possibly know. But guess what happens? As soon as something comes up that you feel like you cannot control, what do? You run to another person to help you because you feel like you can't control it, because you're not in control. You were never in control. You were in fear. And true control exists without needing another person to come in and tell you anything. As the source, you use everything around you as a mirror to understand yourself as the source, to understand your power, to accept your power to a greater degree. So everything in my environment is my mirror. They're all breadcrumbs. They're leading me back to me. I get to discover myself on a deeper level because I'm paying attention to my mirrors. It's not because I need to, it's not because I need to learn something specifically. It's that I get to learn everything independently and also in a greater state of unity. Welcome, Becca. I'm so grateful you can make it, my dear. So when we forget, or at least when we aren't allowing ourselves to access everything as our mirrors, we start looking to receive answers from something. This is something I was sharing, Ashley, in our group this morning, and I've shared it in the group with Mina and Becca as well. But it's that, when you're trying to learn things, when you need to take in a lot of information because you need to learn things, then you divert your attention away from discovering your internal wisdom. You are distracted by learning. You're trying to learn. You're trying to retain information. You're reading a lot of information, or you're listening to a lot of information. Wisdom comes from observing and witnessing through experience. It's lived truth, not learned truth. You truly learn by living. You do not learn by regurgitating. You cannot learn something just because someone else told you. You learn it because you're receiving it vibrationally and you're reflecting upon it. You're observing it within yourself. You are, through that reflection, learning about yourself in the moment that you're in action. You're moving through observation. You're moving through reflection. So therefore, you're learning. Learning isn't, yes, I don't get me wrong. I love books. I love podcasts. Even though I stepped away from those things a little while ago, I still love them. When we become too immersed in receiving that data, we forget that to truly learn, we must be actively immersed in our own experience. Also, too, if we live in fear, we're going to look to other people to tell us what's right or what's wrong. We might not say we're in fear, but if our choices are coming from a space of right and wrong, good or bad, then that's fear. We're afraid that we're afraid that we're going to make the wrong choice. We're afraid that if we don't make the right choice, something bad will happen. We're afraid that something will happen to us if we don't go and do this one thing. And that's fear-based. It's fear-based. It's this process is learning how to shift out of choosing out of fear so that you no longer have to learn through fear, because fear can only teach you so much. Unconditional acceptance teaches you everything. It gives you an opportunity to see everything in the moment. You're not restricted in any way. And you get to learn about yourself in all ways by just simply showing up and accepting. That's all you have to do. And learning to lean into yourself as the source. That's just like I tell each of you. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you how to be. I'm inviting you into observing how you be. I'm inviting you into observing how you act. I'm inviting you into observing your personality traits so that you know why you're making the choice you're making, or why you even feel called to go into that pathway, or why you feel called that has to be where you show up. Now, obviously, like we learned with me, this choice to go to the doctor, you were always going to go to the doctor. You were always going to go. And it was never about the outcome of that. It was about understanding that when everything came up, when that lump showed up, you were already attached to the doctor. You already needed the doctor. So the peace came from going to the doctor, right? When we understand that we are already designed to show up in certain ways, then we uncover that it's simply about accepting that. Even when I invited in the opportunity not to go to the doctor, you got to play in that. You got to see what that feels like. But it couldn't be fully embodied because you were never going to fully show up there. If you're going to fully show up there, then you're there. Just like if you're going to fully show up in the doctor, you're there. Just like it's like that with anything. When we accept that the choice is already made, we're going to show up. That's what it's about. We just simply show up and we accept that. But we also get to play in a different paradigm where different choices where we're showing up to different choices. That's why I invited that in about playing in the field of not going to the doctor. It wasn't about whether you did or whether you didn't, just like Ashley. You got to play in the fact of practicing something different, stepping outside of your comfort zone. Are you guys able to hear me okay still? It disconnected and reconnected, so I want to be sure. Okay, perfect. So it's about practicing playing indifferent, okay? Seeing how you show up to the choice, seeing how you feel about the choice, seeing how you perceive yourself in the choice, because you are always going to go through with the choice that you're going through with. That's, again, I go back to the matrix, right? That's what the oracle said. You already know what choice you're going to make. It's about understanding why you made the choice. Why are you going to the doctor? That's what you're here to understand. Why are you staying in the apartment? And Ashley, you've been going into that for sure. It's about understanding why. The version of you that already agreed to that choice was a pre-programmed version of you. In order for you to step into a new paradigm, a one that you already exist in as well, but is making different choices. You have to understand why you're making the choice, or you've already made the choice that you are showing up in now. Because the only way that you can arrive in that new paradigm is by fully accepting the choice that you've already made in this one. And so the more that you accept those choices, but you also don't resist opportunities for other choices, that's also a part of the lesson. Because how can you shift paradigms if you're against the choice to begin with? How can you understand the choice that you're arriving in if you're afraid of it to begin with? That's where unconditional acceptance is your greatest key factor. When I bring in opportunities through mirrors, I'm not saying you have to do something. I'm not saying that there's going to be a consequence if you don't. I'm inviting you to play in a different paradigm. I'm inviting you to loosen your grip on the control that you think that you have to enact. I'm inviting you to play in something different while also taking responsibility for yourself. Because if you're so afraid of something being wrong or something being bad, right, Ash? It's like celebrate it, celebrate it, celebrate that you get to do something different, even if that is not happening right this second. Play in the fact that it can, that you don't always have to revert to the same things in the same way that you always have, that you get to show up differently. But the only way you can show up differently is understanding how you're showing up now. The only way you can learn how you're showing up now is accepting that you are showing up that way. That's the only way. Because as we all know, we have a complex that wants to stand in and wants to fight back. And that complex fights back because it does not want change. It believes that there is a right. It believes that there is a wrong. It believes that there's a good. It believes that there's a bad. It believes so dearly in these things that its response is automatic. As you guys know, I've been speaking into that. It's an unconscious response, which is in and of itself a reaction. So the more that you understand your behaviors, the more that you understand yourself. But if you're always at war with needing to say, well, needing to prove that this choice was never bad anyways, then you're still showing up in a complex. It was never going to be bad. You're the only one that can make it that way. It was never going to be good. You're the only one that can make it that way. It was never going to be anything other than what you made it. But every mirror, every reflection that I invite in is an opportunity to see things differently. And you either get to see that in excitement and joy and acceptance, or you get to fight it. You get to resist it. You get to feel that, you're being forced into something when you never were. As you guys know, you never were. The only force can ever come from within yourself. And there's going to be, yes, you're going to feel that immediate reaction to, well, why is she saying that like that? Why is she saying that? That wasn't me. Like, there's going to be moments of reaction. It's about accepting that that's going to show up. But if you're in acceptance of it, then you're not in judgment of it, which means you're not in denial of it. So your state of being determines your state of receiving. It really does. So as we step into this point of receiving, and especially because it's been focused so dearly around abundance, it's important to understand who we are and why we're showing up in the way we're showing up. So I'm seeing that the numbers are going down. I hope it's not kicking anyone. If it is, I'm sorry. It looks like my Wi-Fi has come back up. So I'm hoping that the Wi-Fi holds steady enough. I'm kind of getting my phone as close without pushing it off the desk as I can to get you guys as close to the center as I'm able. Okay, so here are some things we're going to be declaring. I am a beacon of protection. I am now embodying the strength, shield, and security of source light. Now these were a download. That's why I'm sharing them with you. I now command all senescent cells that are corrupted and distorted. I clear the informational pattern. So I now command all senescent cells from corrupted and distorted information and patterns. I need to hang on. I now command all senescent cells to clear to purge all corrupted and distorted information patterns. And then at the end, I now close the grids and anchor the shield of Michael around me and within me. I've been receiving that. I used to use that all the time. I haven't in a while. It's coming back in, so I'm allowing it. And I'm actually going to begin by opening up the grids. I'm going to approach things a little bit differently because during this harvest, where we intentionally place ourselves is so important. You do not ascend without your own permission, which means that if your soul feels like it still needs to learn lessons out of fear, guess where your vibrational patterns are going to be consistently anchoring? In those predetermined choices that you're making out of fear. I'm not saying that you're not going to be harvested to make you afraid. I'm just giving you permission to accept that your soul may be guided to remain in a space of learning, which means you will be transitioned into that location of learning. Wherever you are and wherever you vibrationally are pulled, please understand it's always for your highest good. You never want to force yourself in trying to ascend. If you're going to vibrationally ascend, you're going to show up in acceptance because you're vibrationally, that's where you exist. You are already there. If you're more existing in fear, then that's where you exist. That's where you are vibrationally appearing. That's where the majority of your lessons are still centered. If your lessons are no longer centered in fear, then it will be easier and easier for you to pull out of it. There's no big consequence if you don't. It's about learning to accept the lessons and the guidance, like wherever your soul is showing up is necessary. Okay. Of course, anyone and everyone can vibrationally ascend, but you have to choose it. You have to choose that paradigm. You have to anchor into those choice points where you are the source of your unbridled happiness, joy, compassion, all of it. You're the source of your health. You're the source of your wealth. That's the harvest where you're no longer dependent on anyone or anything else. In where you are honoring your mirrors as what they are, guiding posts, teachers. And again, I'm not saying this because one choice is better than another. It's just a vibrational sequence. One vibrational sequence can go higher because it's lighter. It's not carrying the heavy density of fear, worry, lack, concern. That's, as you all know, that just weighs us down. It pulls down. And the other is rising. Now, there's always light and shadow, which means the soul is always on a journey of uncovering itself. It's just that the shadow is a bit lighter. The shadow is embodied. It's more embodied. So I just want to share that with each of you. In this harvest time, it's very important. You're intentional, you're purposeful. Always you're intentional, you're purposeful. But I really want to invite you to understand that you really can shift into a different paradigm. And you don't have to do things the same way. You don't have to approach things in the same way. You don't have to think of things in the same way, right? But if you still have a lesson to learn, you're going to show up at that choice no matter what. You will not shift out of that paradigm until you've learned your lesson. That's what I feel is also happening through many of you right now, is that you were all your yes, you've been shifting into the highest version of you on this set of time lines, parallel existences, but you're still learning things, which means that you're still anchored into the paradigm that's going to teach you the most from your choice points. And so, therefore, no matter what, even when you are offered an opportunity to shift and choose differently, you might not, because you still have lessons to learn. And if you still have lessons to learn, your soul is going to show up wherever you need to learn the lesson. That's where you're going to find yourself at greatest, in a greatest sense of harmony and balance, because your soul is complete in that space of learning. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense for everyone. So, if you're still learning, that's a wonderful thing. We're all learning. I want to make that clear. We're all learning. There's none of us that will ever not be learning. It's just that the learning could still be coming from patterns of fear. That's okay. Accept that. Allow that. Whatever it is, it needs to be learned. The only way that you can ascend and be harvested is once you've learned. I know that many say it's, well, if your intention is to be loving and caring and compassionate, then that's the main factor. And it is the main factor. It is the main foundation. To hold unconditional acceptance and compassion, hold that space without being reactive or judgmental or shameful, that is absolutely the gateway to the harvest. To understand that your choices are all equal. But you also must recognize, if you're unconsciously showing about a fear, then that practice of compassion and reaction is still, you might still be like, I'm hearing as long as it's about 50%, as long as you're at least 50% in compassion, then you can be harvested, which means acceptance, which means you're not reactive, you're not judgmental, you're not going into choices out of fear, judgment, or like something's going to happen. So I hope that makes sense. All right, loves, we're getting ready to go into it. If anyone has anything that they would like for me to reflect upon before we go in, just please let me know. And again, I simply share this because I'm only speaking from vibration. That's it. I'm just speaking, everything's vibration, and the patterns of fear are a specific vibration. The patterns of compassion are a specific vibration. Compassion and acceptance. You're very welcome, Mina. And so vibrationally, as you all know, our nervous system is comprised of patterns, vibrational patterns, and they transmit our reality. And the only way that we can embody a new paradigm is if we show up and act as if we already exist there, which means we've experienced ourselves there. We know what it feels like because we're practicing it. I do hope that everything that's coming through, that you have an opportunity to experience that even more so. That's my wish, that in this space that you get to openly experience just like your true version of self, that you get to experience how supported you are, how loved you are, how healthy you are, how whole you are, how successful you are, how wealthy you are, because it's all here. It really is. And in the quantum, it can only appear out of the quantum if you yourself accept that. The quantum is only ever going to show you what you vibrationally put out. It can only come up and mirror back to you what you are putting out. So the more that you put it out, the more that a new paradigm is anchored into, because it already exists. But you also want to acknowledge that your soul carries its own patterns of lessons. And whatever you feel the most called to do, the choice that you feel the most aligned to, you're going to make that choice because you needed to learn something. It's not about the choice isn't the action of what you go to do. It's not who you go to talk to. It's not who's there. It's not the event. That's not how you learn. I mean, obviously, let me rephrase that. You do still learn through that. The greatest ability to learn comes from reflection. So when you understand why you made the choice, and then you never make the choice again, you've learned. You've learned that you gained everything you needed from that choice. You no longer require that choice to show up and vibrationally teach you anything again. You no longer require that mirror. This is why, if the same mirrors are consistently showing up, you haven't learned. And now, of course, we have higher mirrors, like those I'm in exchange with each of you, pretty much almost every one of you. Um, and our contracts are higher. So you agree to that contract, which pulls it in, and you can cut the cord of that contract at any time. That's what the source, that's like being in source sovereign authority means, that I determine the highest mirror. I call it in, I receive the highest mirror, and when that mirror is complete, I can call in a different mirror. That's that's you being in your source authority. You're not desperately seeking anything, I hope. You're allowing. If you're desperately seeking, then you're really needing someone to come in and teach you something and tell you something. That's fear. That's fear of missing. You're going to miss something. You need something. You got to have something or someone to tell you. Your mirror is going to teach you the most, as is the choice, when you observe it, when you allow it, when you just simply exist in a space that is accepting that all you're doing is showing up to the party, as I say. You've already made the choice. It's not about whether some specific outcome happens or not. It's not about the event of the outcome. It's about how you respond to it, how you show up, knowing why you made that specific choice. Why? What was the purpose of it? What are you getting out of it? Because if you think you're just showing up and there's nothing more to it, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens. It really doesn't. It doesn't. But you also chose that specific choice for a reason. So what were you hoping to get out of it? What were you specifically hoping that that choice could give you? What are you learning from the fact that you chose that for that purpose or that intention? Because why else? Why else are you going to choose something if you don't hope to receive something out of it, right? So what were you hoping to receive from this choice? What did you think that this moment could give you that you felt that you could not get otherwise, because you had to show up to this choice? Why are you there? That's your soul showing you a lesson. What did you think that you had to have? And why did you think that you couldn't exist without making that choice? That there was no other choice, that you had to be right there. That's why your soul is anchoring you there. So give yourself permission to uncover that. Learn why you're showing up. And once you understand the version of you that's showing up, you don't need to make that choice anymore. You don't. You've learned everything. You really have. Now, doesn't mean you're going to accept that, but you have. And so long as you have, you will embody that as a choice, a master choice point. You'll never feel called to make that choice again. It won't be vibrationally, it just won't vibrationally appear. It doesn't hold anything for you. So please give yourself permission to ask those questions. Understand who you are and why you are so anchored in the need for that choice, because that's a soul lesson. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and go in. Does anyone have anything else they would like for me to speak into before we go into this? Or is everyone whole and complete? And you'll hear me say that it really doesn't matter, because it doesn't. It doesn't. You don't want to make it matter. You want to understand why you made it matter already. Why was it so important? Why did that have to be the choice that you landed in? Because that's where you learn the lessons of your soul, is understanding why. And that way you can move on. That way your soul can move on, and you can vibrationally arrive in a different choice. The only way you're going to arrive in a different choice is by understanding why you had to make this choice and why you had to show up there so that you don't do it again. Because you don't have to repeat. You really don't. It's not necessary. Um, okay. Well, if everyone is whole and complete, and then we will move forward. All right, just put my phone on do not disturb. Um, okay, loves. Go ahead and give yourself permission to begin dropping in. So we want to just open the space, opening the space with sound and tone. Allowing an opportunity for you to really hone in on your presence, your state of being, just really sensing all that you are in this moment and sensing it with unconditional acceptance. Remembering that every moment, every sensation is divinely aligned and it is showing you something. It is guiding you into a deeper state of remembering. Why are you feeling what you're feeling? What is that teaching you? What is it showing you? What is that sensation reflecting for you? Because every sensation, every sense is a moment to go deeper into the self. That's why we have senses. It's how we tap into ourselves as an infinite existence. Because it's not the body, not the physical organic body, but the body of light that carries the memories of creation. Your organic body is carrying with it the memories of your ancestral lineage. Your atomic body is carrying with it the memories of your eternal lineage. One is a shell, it's a simulated shell that gives you an opportunity to pretend that you were born, to pretend that you can die. But you can also sense beyond that shell. And all you do is just exist, just be and allow. I'm here in this moment to remind you that you are infinitely supported always. I'm here in this moment right now to remind you that no matter what, everything that is moving through you is divinely aligned. It is perfect. It is all divinely orchestrated. So just guiding everyone into their center, really feeling yourself anchoring through the feet or through the tailbone. It should almost feel like from the chest down, you have sand, and from the chest up, it's air. The higher you go above the waist, the more floaty you become, if you will. Please internally declare, I accept, I receive, I accept, I allow. Opening the space. I now call upon the crystalline grids of Source. I open and activate the grids through the heart, expanding, allowing, and anchoring through the higher, calling in all fractals of self that are being transmitted through shadow and separation. We call them in now. We call them into the awareness. You may have flashes, you may have like flashes of memory that show. You may have just thoughts that appear as these versions of you come in. And we just call these fractals home. Opening the space. Opening the energy bodies. Receiving only the highest, calling in a shield of Michael, shielding the space, gridding the space 360 degrees around, shielding and layering. And anchoring shield of Michael into the heart, anchoring the sword of Michael into the heart, shielding, anchoring, supporting, aligning. Aligning and harmonizing all energy bodies. And just going to move through the aura. sealing, repairing, calling in divine white light to cleanse, purify, and to seal the space, shielding, guarding, and protecting. This is declared as the source, through the source, within the source, declaring now that I am a beacon of protection. I am now embodying the strength, shield, and security of source light. I now command all senescent cells to purge all corrupted and distorted information and patterns. These are now cleansed, opened, and purified within the light. This process will be underway throughout this activation. Okay, now let us begin to open and expand even further. Activating the tones of C. No, B. B is coming through first. Activating the tones of B, receiving these beyond the veil in accordance with source light. There's a lot of throat stuff happening. In accordance with source light, activating beyond the veil the quantum tones of the abundant self. Feeling the sensation as if a magnet, basically like a magnet or a set of magnet hands are reaching up and pulling from within you. Opening. As we are fully entered into the space of receiving, tune into that version of you that has everything that you feel you would like. That version of you that has everything in abundance. Tap into that version of you now. And you do know what that feels like. If you have the thought, if the thought comes across your mind, but I don't know what that feels like, then you'll be a master of never knowing. You do know. You could not desire it if you did not already exist there. So stop declaring you don't and start declaring you do. Stop holding yourself in captivity and start freeing yourself by allowing and accepting. Like, I do know what that feels like. I do, because I already exist there. I can see it. I can feel it. I can imagine it. But you're not even imagining it, right? Because you already exist there. You don't even have to imagine it. So let's go ahead and clear that. You can feel it. Anchor into that. Feel the power of that as it enters into you. What does it feel like to have everything that you desire? It doesn't mean that you do not have lessons that will appear, because you will along the way. Between here and there, you're going to be given opportunities to remain on the path of receiving yourself. But if you don't have a clear vision of where you're going, then you'll be rambling around just trying to grasp for whatever you can. Know where you're going. Have an intention. Have a declaration. Anchor yourself there. That way you're not grasping at straws trying to find the next best thing. You do know. You do. You're just not used to playing in that field. You're not used to playing in the space of clarity. And now you're all, well, not just now, but most especially now, you're being given an invitation to anchor there. Through the shield of Michael, we activate the abundant state of security and stability. We harness the sensations of being held, of being fortified, of being secure. And you can sense the reason why the tone expresses in a triangle. I can feel it. It's like everything comes in and then it expands around the heart, and then it starts to come into a smaller portal. But the way the heart, everything comes through, is more expansive. So when the tone comes in, it is received in that way. Like that C, I recognize that. B with the box, if you will, or with the rectangle. It feels like it's coming straight across from the heart and then funneling up and then funneling down. But it begins in this expansiveness of the heart. That's where tone B is. And you can feel just how large and safe and secure you are. Just how expansive you are. And in that expansiveness, you are absolutely safe and you are absolutely secure. We call forward from within the cells. We call forward the release of all corrupted and distorted information. All information that has been corrupted through self-sabotage, through self-orientation. That was what I was speaking into earlier. Like, well, you couldn't possibly know how I feel. You don't know what it's like for me. That's being self-oriented. That's the self defying the opportunity to expand itself. It's always going to fight back. Like, you don't know. I'm so special. You could never know what it's like for me because I am so special. That type of defiance, that's self-oriented, and that's also it's manipulative, but it's also corrupt. So we call these corrupt patterns into the light as they pass through the heart, and they are purified within the flame of source. Opening, 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 opening. Oh, that's a powerful stream. Oh, the data is like a braid. It's just intertwining and it's pulling. Wow. I call in the light of the monad and the light of source to cleanse and purify, to receive this data that is corrupt. We return it to source and we purify it through the wisdom of seven, the powers of seven. Lots clearing. We pull this information from the space. Clearing. And purifying. Clearing. Opening the energy bodies. Wow, it got really light all of a sudden. Opening all the energy bodies. I am now embodying the light of source. I am now receiving the power, the safety, the security, and the presence of my most abundant self. I am anchored into the highest line of receiving. I now command all cells to purify and release any and all distorted information, returning it to the light of source, purifying by the tone of voice, by the vibration of the source. Aligning, harmonizing, and balancing my auric field. I cleanse and purify any and all outdated information, any and all echoes of old programmed fear that may reside in my field. Clear it. Clear. Clear. It is open. It is clear. It is open. It is clear. I now give permission for the clearing to happen. I now give permission for the clearing to happen. I now give permission for my cells to open and to purify. I now command my nervous system to open and receive. Receiving. Receiving the light of 12. Receiving the patterns of 7. As I receive, I am anchored. I am anchored. I am anchored into the source grids. I am receiving the crystalline tones and vibrational purification of the source. That's powerful. Whew. Each tone, each stroke, each vibration unlocks my most abundant cellular activity. The abundance of wealth, the abundance of prosperity, the abundance of health, the abundance of success, the abundance of communication, the abundance of self. I acknowledge each of these tones as my birthright. I now call in and anchor into each cell the data stream, the quantum stream, the most abundant stream of self. I call this in now. I call this in now. I call this in now. I open and receive. Every cell opens and receives the most abundant self. Every cell opens and receives the most abundant version. Every cell opens and receives the data of success. the data of prosperity, the data of source, the code of abundance. I actively open and receive. I am aligning and harmonizing to the millionaire mindset. This mindset is more than money. It is a state of being. It is a state of presence where everything is easy, where I have everything. Give yourself a moment to identify with the millionaire. The millionaire has everything, right? Whatever they want, they could pay for. And since we identify in the physical material, the monetary wealth is a determining factor of having whatever it is you need. One of the gateways into the abundant self is to understand the millionaire mindset, that you already have everything. I am actively attuned and aligned to the frequency of millionaire. I am actively attuned and aligned to the millionaire frequency. I am actively attuned and aligned to the millionaire frequency. I am actively attuned and aligned to the millionaire frequency. I am actively attuned and aligned to the millionaire frequency. It is done. Receiving, anchoring, and embodying. This frequency is born through those that acknowledge the responsibility that comes with being in a state of consistent wealth and prosperity. Mastering vibration. It's not about what you do, it's about how you be. Think about how a millionaire would make choices or show up to a choice. The things that they would be able to enjoy, if you will. Lavish yourself in that frequency, bathe in it, but remember at the same time, it's also your mind. Your mind is what creates, and the frequency aligns to you, and then you inhabit that which you have projected. I'm a millionaire. It's very easy. I'm a millionaire in my mind. My mindset is that of a millionaire. Because I am a millionaire in my mind, my reality has no other way but to show up and to prove to me just how much I am a millionaire. Giving yourself permission to acknowledge the state of being, and also too giving yourself permission to not be concerned with how it looks. Just accepting the wealth, the prosperity, and the success that comes with that. Embracing it. If it feels aligned, embrace it. Because the shift in consciousness is also a shift in wealth and prosperity. It's a shift in abundance, true abundance, the inheritance of the soul. And as you all know, you must be willing to show up and play that game. Open, 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 expand the nervous system, open and expand the spine. Calling in all multidimensional wealth streams of self. Calling in all streams of health, success, prosperity, wealth, creative genius. I call these in and anchor them throughout all time and all space. I anchor into the highest versions of me that are successful. I anchor into the highest versions of me that are healthy. I anchor into the highest versions of me that are prosperous. I anchor into the highest versions of me that are wealthy. I anchor into the highest version of me that is the creative genius. As a source, I embody each version of me now. Feel that one. Now, bathe in the moment, see it in your mind's eye as you are now experiencing it. See that version of you, be that version of you. What is that version of you doing right now? I bet they're in meditation, meeting you, remembering you right now, remembering that moment when they discovered that they could be there. Connect with that version of you through time. Maybe you're sitting in a cabin. That's how I see myself sitting in this like it's like a rustic farmhouse, like a farmhouse cabin on a ranch. It's like a little tiny home. I've always loved those, but it's elegant, has everything I need. And I'm sitting there. There's a fire, beautiful, beautiful bay window, and I'm doing exactly this right now. I'm calling it through. As I bend reality, as I bend time, I meet myself in that moment. And then I pull myself in and unify, connecting, embodying, recognizing that it is complete. Just connecting. The cells remember, just as you remember. It is done. Anchor, anchor, anchor. It is done. All other timeline collapse as we focus in on that moment. Bending reality, warping it, focusing all energy into that moment of abundance, success, prosperity, wealth, health, comfort. You can really feel that feeling. It's so filling that sacral solar plexus root up right now. It's filling it up. You no longer have to fight. This is something that's been recurring in my dreams, is how I've been fighting for everyone, to save everyone, fighting to help them literally with weapons, fighting to save a civilization, coming into the rescue to save them from, the downfall. That's happened in a lot of my dreams, where there's an invasion of some sort and I'm saving the civilization. And of course, to come to the realization always that you cannot save by fighting. You can only save by being and by understanding why you be the way you be. That's the Savior, the Christ itself, because you understood yourself. Pouring everything into the self now, pouring everything into the aura, shielding the space. There's a lot pouring in right now. Shielding, shielding, pouring everything into the heart, into the body. Receiving yourself with clarity, with openness, with acceptance. Activating cellular reset. Activating. All right. I see tone C coming in. Activating. Receiving. Tone C. Coming in through the third eye. Pineal. Opening. Opening, expanding the pineal, allowing. Receiving tone C into the system. Coming in through the head, neck, and shoulders, receiving, resetting. Yeah, it's coming in through the pineal. Resetting. Anchoring the geometric pattern of C. Anchoring. 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 Anchor. Pulling it in, anchoring it through the body, anchoring through the nervous system. Cleansing, purifying, resetting, rebalancing. This tone is carrying the wisdom of source through the nervous system. Realigning the energy bodies, harmonizing. It is carrying an infinite stream of neurological necessities. It's moving in. You can feel the bandwidth as it's coming into the heart, and it moves around like a shield, like a corset, shielding. Anchoring. Anchoring the shield. I am the source. I am the shield. I call in the shield of Raziel and Raphael. Anchoring. Supporting the shield of Michael. Anchoring. I am anchored. I am supported. I am secure. And receiving the incoming stream, it's pouring in heavy through the pineal and the third eye. receiving and downloading. I am anchored in the stream. I am anchored in the light. I embody both shadow and light. I am now fully embodying the stream of wisdom. I am now embodying the tone of C. I am now embodying the tone of B. These tones carry multiversal source resonance. And as I embody and actively transmit these tones, I am transmitting to the universal source that I am able, open, ready to receive my most abundant self. Transmitting. I choose to see beyond the known. I choose to see beyond the comfortable. I choose to receive beyond the known. I choose to receive beyond the comfortable. In the coming solstice, will be pulled through and anchored. Fully and completely as a collective consciousness, come the solstice. That will be a massive anchor point for the collective harvest. Just transmitting the abundance of self and receiving the abundance of self. Receiving, anchoring, anchoring, anchoring. Anchoring. Anchor, anchor, anchor. Anchor, anchor, anchor. Anchor, anchor, anchor. Okay, my loves, we're coming into completion. I now close the grids and anchor the shield of Mikael around me and within me, requesting that this shield layer upon itself until complete. I now close the grids. All is received, and so it is. And now just you'll feel everything kind of pulling in. And you'll feel everything coming in. All right, my loves, all is complete. All has been received. I just looked up, it was 131, then 31. That's very beautiful. So just give yourself permission to begin kind of walking back to your awareness into the physical plane. Okay. Let me just reset this really quickly. Now as everything is closing out, it just allows everything to be fully received. Um, that was one thing that did come in for me, is to open it and to close it, even though it doesn't mean open and close in the way that we think. It's simply a process of receiving, like turning on a light switch and turning off a light switch. It's just opening and the gateways, allowing everything to come in and be received fully. So um, I hope everyone received this with ease. I hope everyone received this with grace. I hope it felt full and complete as it did for me. Much, much easier, much different than the previous two activations, which were extremely uncomfortable for me. Um, but it was a beautiful opportunity to learn, even as it was still powerful and intense. Absolutely. So, thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, I love you guys. I don't know if I hope everyone is seeing this. Um, okay, good. And that way, I sometimes I just don't know if it's going in and out or whatever. So thank you, Becca. Thank you for dropping in. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. It was absolutely, I agree. It was truly amazing. Um, it feels amazing. It felt and still feels absolutely wonderful. So, um, all right, my loves. Thank you both so much. I'm so grateful. I believe Sama and Ashley hopped off. So for both of you in the replay, when you tune in, thank you both as well. I love you guys. I'm so grateful to you. Thank you for dropping in and receiving this. And yeah, I look forward to, Becca, I look forward to receiving through you, my dear. So I would say today is a day. So please give yourself permission to drop in. All right. Thank you, loves. Adonai.